In this section of the video, we're talking about revolution and rotation.
Revolution. The Earth revolves around the sun while the moon revolves around the Earth. This creates seasons.
Rotation is when an object is spinning on an axis. This creates sunrise and sunset as well as day and night. Earth rotates on an axis while the moon is revolving around the Earth.
Day and night. Day and night are created when the Earth rotates on its axis. During this, one part of the Earth is always towards the sun. This is day. The other side of the Earth is always night. Have you ever heard the statement, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west? This is false. The Earth is the one moving, not the sun.
In this section, we'll be talking about seasons, day and night. The reasons for seasons is because of Earth's tilt. There are 4 seasons: autumn or fall, summer, spring, and winter. These are divided into spring and fall equinoxes and summer and winter solstice. The Earth's imaginary axis is always facing the same direction no matter what side of the sun the Earth is on. In this section of the video, we'll be talking about gravity, weight, and mass. If we didn't have gravity on Earth, then I could fly. The law of inertia says that a body in motion tends to travel in a straight line unless it is disturbed by an unbalanced force.
Weight and mass. Weight and mass are 2 completely different things, contrary to what most people believe. Weight is how much gravitational pull is on an object, and mass is how much space an object takes up.
In this section, we'll be talking about moon phases. New moon, the first moon. We cannot see this moon in our sky, but it's still there. Next is the waxing crescent. The only part we can see of this moon is towards the right of the circular moon. The next stage is the first quarter. This is half of our moon. Next is the waxing gibbous. This stage is before the full moon. This stage looks almost like a full moon, but with the crescent shape cut out on the side. The next stage is the full moon. This is completely filled in. We can see all of this moon. Next is the waning gibbous. This looks like a crescent shape. Is cut out of it, but just on the opposite side of the final quarter. Next is the waning crescent, and once again it is on the opposite side of the moon as the waxing crescent. Now is back to new moon. Each stage lasts 2 to 3 days and is a total elapsed time of 20. In this section, we're talking about planets and some facts about planets. In this part, we're talking about Mercury. Mercury was a Roman version of the god Hermes. He was the messenger for other gods, and for this reason, Mercury often shown in pictures with winged sandals. Also, he was the protector of travelers. How much would you weigh on Mercury? If you moved to Mercury, you would not weigh as much as you do on Earth. Not because you lose weight, but because there's little gravity. If you weigh 70 pounds on Earth, you would weigh 27 pounds on Mercury. Mercury is a world of extremes because it is close to the sun. A visitor could easily cook to death. However, because Mercury spins so slightly, it gets very cold in the nighttime. It looks a lot like our moon because it has craters and basins. Scientists used to think it acted like the moon, but we are now learning Mercury, in fact, is very different.
In the next part, we'll be talking about Venus. The name Venus means the Roman goddess of love and beauty. In Greek, her name was Aphrodite. How much would you weigh on Venus? Because Venus and Earth are almost the exact same size, you would weigh almost exactly the same on both of the planets. If you weigh 70 pounds on Venus, you would probably weigh around 63 on Venus. Venus is a hostile planet. The very thick clouds on Venus cover and make it impossible to see surface from Earth and traps much of the sun's heat. This extra heat gives Venus the hottest average temperature of all the planets. In many ways, Venus is very similar to Earth. It has active volcanoes, earthquakes, mountains, and even valleys. The major difference is that Venus's atmosphere makes it far too hot for life. Because Venus and Earth are almost the same, except Venus doesn't have any life on it, scientists call Venus Earth's sister planet. From time to time, most scientists thought that Venus had animals and possibly even people. However, because Venus is so hot, we now know that it's impossible for anything to live there. Mars is the next planet that we are talking about. Mars was the Roman god of war and agriculture. It got its name by the fact it is red, which reminded people of blood. The weight on Mars is very far off from Earth. If you weighed about 70 pounds on Earth, you would weigh 27 pounds on Mars. Mars excites scientists more than all the other planets because its temperature and atmosphere is more like Earth than any other planet. Evidence suggests that at one point, Mars had rivers, lakes, streams, and even oceans, but today the only water on Mars is either frozen or underground.
In this part, we're talking about Jupiter. Jupiter, known as Zeus in Greek, overthrew his father, Saturn, to become king of the gods. He then split the universe with his brothers, Neptune and Pluto. If you traveled to Jupiter from Earth and you weighed 70 pounds on Earth, you would weigh 185 pounds on Jupiter. Jupiter's Great Red Spot is where a giant storm has been raging for at least 300 years. Its super hurricane winds blow across an area larger than Earth. In this part, we're talking about Uranus. Uranus was the lord of the skies and husband of Earth. If you went on Uranus, if you took a rocket ship to Uranus, when you arrived, you would weigh more because Uranus is bigger than Earth. If you weigh 70 pounds on Earth, you would weigh 82 pounds on Uranus. Uranus is very odd. Uranus spins on its side. It is believed that long ago a very large object smashed into this planet. The crash was so powerful that it completely changed the direction of Uranus' spin. Uranus may have an ocean of water beneath its clouds. It has a large rocky core, and because of its tremendous pressure, it could possibly contain trillions of diamonds. In this part, we're talking about Neptune. Neptune was originally only the god of water, but was later extended to the ocean when he became associated with the Greek god Poseidon. If you weighed 70 pounds on Earth, you'd weigh 84 pounds on Neptune. Neptune has a giant storm, much like Jupiter. The storm is often called the Great Dark Spot. We do not know how long the storm has been active because it is so far away and we cannot get a good view of it.
This video is about Saturn. Saturn was the god of agriculture. Because Saturn is much bigger than Earth, you would weigh more on Saturn than you would on Earth. If you weighed 70 pounds on Earth, then you would weigh 82 pounds on Saturn. Saturn has several hundred rings. Saturn is much like Jupiter, only it is much smaller. Under the clouds of methane and helium, the sky gradually turns into liquid until it becomes a giant ocean of liquid chemicals.